In May 2008, 18-year-old Joshua Maddux walked out of his home in Woodland Park, Colorado, for what seemed like an ordinary stroll. He never returned. No calls, no signs, no clues. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. His family and friends searched tirelessly, but days turned into weeks, then months, and finally years. Joshua was gone, without a trace. The investigation hit a dead end. There were no signs of foul play, no witnesses who saw Joshua that day, and no reasons for him to run away. His family refused to believe he had simply left town. He was a free-spirited, artistic teenager who loved music and writing. He had dreams of traveling, but not like this. Not without telling anyone. Fast forward to 2015. A local cabin, just a mile from Joshua's home, was set to be demolished. The property had been abandoned for over a decade, its wooden structure rotting away. As workers tore through the remains, they made a horrifying discovery. Inside the chimney, they found a mummified human body, wedged in an impossible position. The skeletal remains were crammed head first into the narrow chimney shaft. The body had been there for years, untouched. The workers were stunned. Who could this be? And how did they get there? Forensic analysis soon confirmed the worst. It was Joshua Maddux. But the discovery only raised more questions. Authorities initially suggested that Joshua had tried to climb down the chimney and got stuck. But something didn't add up. He was found head first, with his arms pinned by his sides. His clothes were missing, except for his shirt, which was tangled around his head. There was no sign of a fire being used in the chimney. It was as if he had been placed there intentionally. Investigators struggled to explain the bizarre scene. If Joshua had entered the chimney on his own, why? If he had been trying to hide, why would he go head first? Some theorized that he had fallen in from the roof, but the chimney had a heavy metal grate covering it, one that was still intact when the body was found. Then, an even darker detail emerged. The cabin belonged to a man named Chuck Murphy, who had owned the property for decades. According to locals, he rarely let anyone inside. But what made things even stranger was that Chuck had long suspected something sinister about his own property. He later recalled that a violent drifter had once stayed in the cabin, a man with a history of disturbing behavior. The drifter, named Andy Newman, had allegedly bragged about killing someone and putting them in a hole before disappearing himself. Was it a coincidence? Had Joshua somehow crossed paths with him? Police couldn't find enough evidence to connect Andy to the case, but the chilling implications lingered. One of the biggest mysteries was why no one had noticed the decomposing remains in the chimney for 7 years. Experts pointed out that in Colorado's dry climate, bodies can naturally mummify, preventing strong odors. But still, how had no one seen, smelled, or suspected anything in all those years? Joshua's family never accepted the official explanation. The idea that he willingly climbed into a chimney in such a bizarre position made no sense. They believed someone had placed him there, possibly after he was already dead. But with no solid evidence of foul play, authorities eventually ruled the death an accident. An answer, but not the truth. The official autopsy revealed no signs of trauma, stab wounds, or gunshot injuries. There was no clear cause of death, other than positional asphyxiation, meaning Joshua likely suffocated inside the chimney. But something was off. His bones showed no signs of struggle, no fractures, and no broken fingers. Nothing that suggested he had fought to free himself. If he had been trapped, wouldn't he have tried to escape? Perhaps the strangest part of the discovery was Joshua's clothing, or lack of it. His pants and shoes were found inside the cabin, neatly placed near the fireplace. His underwear was missing. If he had climbed into the chimney himself, why would his clothes be inside the cabin? Did he remove them before entering? Or had someone else placed them there? Some investigators proposed a theory. Joshua entered the cabin, took off his clothes to fit through the chimney, and got stuck. Maybe he was playing a prank. Or maybe he thought it was a shortcut out of the house. But that still didn't explain the head-first position, the lack of a struggle, and why no one heard him scream. If he had been alive when he got trapped, he would have shouted for help. Others believed Joshua didn't go into the chimney on his own at all. Could he have been forced inside after being killed elsewhere? Some speculated that his body had been placed in the shaft post-mortem, possibly as a way to hide the crime. If true, this meant someone had access to the cabin and knew no one would check the chimney for years. Although Chuck Murphy, the owner of the cabin, was the one who found Joshua's body, some people questioned his role. Why hadn't he noticed anything for 7 years? The chimney wasn't far from the main rooms of the house. He insisted he had never smelled anything, never heard anything, and had no idea Joshua was there. But could he have been covering up something? Another frustrating aspect of the case was the investigation into Joshua's disappearance. When he first vanished, police had assumed he ran away, rather than treating it as a potential crime. Did law enforcement overlook crucial early clues? If they had searched abandoned buildings, could Joshua have been found earlier? Did someone use that oversight to hide a crime? The case exploded online, with armchair detectives forming their own theories. Some believed Joshua had been lured to the cabin and murdered, while others speculated about secret cults, hidden tunnels, or even paranormal activity. The theories got wilder, but one thing remained true. No official explanation made complete sense. Despite the inconsistencies, the case was officially closed as an accidental death. No further investigation was conducted. No suspects, no arrests, no justice. To this day, Joshua Maddux's family believes foul play was involved, but without new evidence, their questions remain unanswered. Even years later, Woodland Park hasn't forgotten Joshua. His story serves as a chilling reminder of how mysteries can hide in plain sight for years. People still debate the case, searching for overlooked clues that might explain what really happened in that cabin. But perhaps the scariest part is that whoever might have been involved, if anyone, was never caught. Was this a tragic accident or a carefully hidden crime? Did Joshua climb into the chimney himself, or was he placed there by someone trying to cover their tracks? With so many unanswered questions, the truth behind this case may never be fully known. What's your theory? Let us know in the comments below.